Good evening, everyone. This is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. Welcome to my Step It Up Sunday. I'm going to give it a few more seconds for everyone to join me tonight. Happy Sunday. So while everybody's chiming in, let me just go over a few things. My door prize for the month of January is Hello Cupcake. So if you place an order, your name will be entered into the drawing. My Hostess code for January is this number right here that you just put into the shopping cart at the end. There's a place there for you to put the Hostess code, and you'll earn some more products from me. Good evening, everyone. I can see everybody coming on. So we are in the beginning of sale-a-bration, and I just wanted to mention that we have a great package for joining during celebration. We have two options, and this is the best deal of the year. If you add up everything that you get when you join, it's actually about a $230 value. And you can choose to join option one. You pick $175 worth of anything you want in both catalogs, and you pay $99. Free shipping, which is a great thing to have when you join. Option two is the same thing, but you add in the craft and carry tote right here, and you pay $129. So if you guys have any questions on joining, I've had 5 people join my team this week. So do it during sale-a-bration. You get so much more product for free. So tonight I am using the Lasting Lily stamp set. That is on the last page of the sale-a-bration catalog. Now, if you look at the last few pages, these are earned for free. You've got 2 choices when you hit the $100 order mark. So we've got the dies that go with the Tea Time stamp set in the Occasions catalog. And tonight, this is the one I'm using. And there's so many sentiments with this set. I just love this set. So here's my case. It's a photopolymer stamp set. And I'm going to show you where my inspiration is coming from tonight. This is a quarterly magazine that we get when you join Stamping Up. So if you join my team, you'll get this in the mail right to your mailbox. Has lots of ideas inside. So this is where I'm getting up my Step It Up Sunday for today. But I'm not using this stamp set. Remember, I'm using the Lasting Lily. But I'm going to use the setup for all 3 of these cards using a different stamp set. So I'm going to start out with card number 1. And I'm using Very Vanilla tonight instead of Whisper White. This one is 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. Layer number 2 is 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have a very small Highland Heather, 1/2 inch by 3 3/4. So this is the first card I'm making. So this will be the simple card, and we're going to step it up twice from there. So let me bring in the card base, fold on the score line. For ink colors on all 3 cards, I'm using Balmy Blue, Night of Navy, and Pear Pizzazz. I'm going to start out with the Balmy Blue. And I'm going to bring in both flower images. There's the first one. Now, one thing I've been asked by a few people on this stamp set, I'm not having issues with mine, but if you are, you can use a silicone mat underneath to give it more pressure. I haven't had to do that with mine, so you might have to. Now I'm going to bring in Pear Pizzazz. And when I'm stamping the stem, I'm making sure that I'm going over the flower just a little bit so there's no white space in between. Now we'll bring in the second stem. Same thing, I've gone over the top of the balmy blue flower. Then we have the leaf pattern. And when you stamp the, whoops, I got balmy blue on there. That's not a good thing. Let me wipe that clean. Let's do that again, Pear Pizzazz. Now when you do the leaf image, you need to overlap the stem just a tad, just so it looks good. So that's what that looks like. I love the way the leaf is twisted a little bit. So now I'm going to glue that in place with Stampin' Dimensionals. So this card is rather quick because this is my clean and simple card. Next, I'm going to do the sentiment with the Night of Navy ink. Let me get all my ink pads out. And this one says, wishing you well. I decided to use wishing you well because I've needed a lot of thinking of you type cards lately. And I didn't have a lot on hand. So that's why I thought I'd use the same sentiment on all three cards tonight. And then this is glued in place with Stampin' Dimensionals. And isn't it neat how the purple, the Highland Heather against the Pear Pizzazz and Balmy Blue, it's striking. So that's kind of what they did on this sample here. They used two pinks and then added the green just to give it that splash of color. So there's card number 1. So let me go ahead and set up for card number 2. Now card number 2 and 3, I'm throwing in the Needlepoint Nook Designer Series paper. You can see that all of 6 sheets have some flowers or butterflies. I'm actually using the bolder side. I'm using this pattern here tonight. Even though it's needlepoint, we can still match up with the Lasting Lily. So card number 2, I'm not going to flip it over yet. This is Highland Heather, 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. Now I did have someone ask me why this is my favorite, oh, I got ink on my finger, why this is my favorite card fold for my card base. And that's because when I'm photographing, I like to stand my card this way at an angle. It photographs the best. So that's why I use this, the fold on the long side like this a lot. This is the designer paper layer that I'm using. It's got the Night of Navy. And that's 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to glue that in place. I hate to cover up these beautiful butterflies. And again, the Night of Navy looks really striking on the Highland Heather. It's probably not a color combination you would think of. And now let me bring in the card. So this will be card number 2. And I'm going to show you how I did this on the edge here to make that pop. So I'm using the rectangle, the new rectangle stitch dies. This one measures 4 3/8 by 3 inches. And then I've got a little piece of the same designer paper, but in the Highland Heather color. This is 1 inch by 3 inches. And I've gone ahead, because I have some masking going on, I stamped this on a Post-it note. The sticky side is right here. I've cut that out. And remember that we talked about masking a couple weeks ago. So when I stamped this image, when I cut it out for a mask, I cut on the inside of the lines so that it's a little smaller, so that you don't have any white space between the two flowers when you do the masking. Now, I don't want my stems to appear down here on my Very Vanilla. So I'm just going to use a Post-it note to cover the bottom. And let me get my flowers. And I just want to clean these to get a better image. So now let me bring the card in so you can see my masking. So I'm going to start by doing the largest flower with the Balmy Blue ink. Now here's my mask. I'm going to put that over, and I'm going to slightly see the ink on the outside, just a little tiny bit. Next up is the smallest flower, and that's going to overlap. And then when we pull this out, and it did make a line there, but I made mine a little bit darker. And I'll show you how I did that. So this is where my aqua painter comes in. When I did my first card, I did not have a line like this. So what I did is I used my aqua painter, just dipped it in the ink a little, and then I drew in that line. So you can see that it's getting darker. So you can see where one flower begins and the other one is hiding behind it. Let me show you this one because it's dry. See how that stands out? Okay, now, whoops. Oh, I just got that on my card. I'll have to fix that. Now, let me go ahead and do my stems. I know you guys have all done what I just did. Thank goodness it's just on the banner, so I can just replace the banner. Okay, now I'm going to put this back on because I want to do the stem. And stem number 2. Now I'm going to add a few leaves, and I'm actually going to stamp a lighter one by stamping on my scrap first. Okay, so you can see the light and dark. And let's see, we'll add a lighter one right here and one more right here. Oh, I did the blue again. I'm going to have to move the pear pizzazz in the middle here. That's okay. Okay, so now I need to bring in my little Highland Heather piece right here. So what I'm kind of doing with the Highland Heather is creating a little window box, and I just need to trim it just a little bit. A little window box for my flowers. And then I'm going to add the twine around and tie that into a bow. Oh, Sharon's saying her cat does that for you. So does your cat actually step on the ink and then mess up your cards? Is that what you're saying, Sharon? I've never had that happen. Okay, so now I can glue this in place with dimensionals. And card number 3 is going to be the wow card. I can't wait to show you that one. I'm really proud of how that one turned out. Okay, so this is going to be centered. And then lastly, we've got the sentiment, which is the same one, wishing you well. And I'm just going to cut that into a banner with my scissors. You can use the tailored tag punch too if you're not good at doing this. A lot of my local customers hate to do their own banners on the end. The tailored tag punch really makes it easy because it's nice and neat on both ends, and they usually show up equally. Okay, and this is going to go down here right in the center. So there's card number 2. Now let me set up for card number 3. I'm using the same ink colors. I'm going to clean my stamps first. They're quite messy. Just so I don't make another mess on one of my good cards. Now I did do some work ahead of time on card number 3 because there's a lot of fussy cutting. I didn't want you guys to have to watch me fussy cut. So I've got a bunch of flowers already cut, and this is card number 3. Isn't that neat? And all of the flowers use stamping dimensionals and the little sentiment that I hand cut also. So let me go ahead and start that card. Again, we're using Highland Heather 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. Now, because I did my flowers in advance, I wanted to show you there is such a difference between the 2 inks. So when I stamped with the Night of Navy, I couldn't believe the detail that came out of that flower compared to the Balmy Blue. And I think that's only maybe because of how much ink I had in my ink pad. But when I put them side by side, you can see the detail a lot more in the Night of Navy flower. So now, oh, you know what I forgot to show you was the comparison. So you can see how we did the cardstock designer paper and the rectangle for card number 2, and I did the same thing that they had down here, but just using different colors, a different stamp set, and different patterns. So when you guys need help with inspiration, you can do that. Just find a card that you like, even if you don't have the same stamp set, and just change it up. Change up the colors, change up the ink colors. Okay, this is the same size as card number 2. 4 inches by 5 1/4. So you're kind of using it as a sketch. Now this is the pattern number 2 from the same designer paper. This one is 4 inches by 3. And once I have this glued down, I'll show you why I did all of the fussy cutting in advance. So this goes in the center. So here's all of my fussy cutting. I had 2 of each flower, 2 different colors, so Night of Navy and Balmy Blue. And then all of these little stems and the leaves. So the only thing I have to stamp on this card is going to be the sentiment. So now let's go ahead and glue the flowers in place. And I've already added stamping dimensionals to the back. So we're going to add one right here. And then this is the Balmy Blue. And I kind of tucked the little bump under, but then the little point sticks out. Next is the Balmy Blue of the large flower. I'm going to tuck that one under. And then we have a Night of Navy smaller flower. And I'm also going to tuck that one under. Now I need to bring in, hold on, I have to get my glue. I had a class yesterday and I forgot to I don't have everything put away yet, so. Now, when I cut the stems off, I wasn't fussy with all these little hair-like thingies up here because they're all going to be tucked under anyway. So this one is going to be tucked under this Night of Navy flower. Followed by this one. And let's see, the next one would be, now this one I'm going to have to trim because it's too long anyway. So this one goes with the balmy blue. And then one more for the Night of Navy and the smallest flower. And then next we have 2 leaves. So you know what? This was very relaxing to cut. I know a lot of you guys don't like to fussy cut, but this seriously was not that hard to do. You still kind of wish they had dies to go with this set though, don't you? Now on this one, I'm going to place it on top of the flower. So flat here, and then on top of the flower here. Let me just press that down. Oops, my finger is sticky and it just went away with it. Okay, now I'm going to add the ribbon or the twine. This is the Night of Navy twine. Because it's got to match. Everything has to coordinate. Rhonda, does pressure on the stamp make a difference on the appearance? Yes, it does. Some people are having a hard time with the detail. So if you use the Stampin' Pierce mat or the silicone mat underneath, it'll make a ton of difference. I've even before, when I didn't have my mat available, you can even stamp on top of a catalog. There's enough there, enough thickness that'll help you with the pressure. Okay, let me just fix my bow. Where are my scissors? Okay, next I'm going to stamp the sentiment. I'm going to show you a little trick that I used. Now, because the words are so close together, I stamped it, the whole thing first. And then what I did is cut off the U so that I could save the 2 on each end. So there's the well. And as far as the U, I didn't like it because it was so close to the edge. So what I did is I cleaned my stamp really, really well. Stamp on scrap to make sure there's no residue. And let me bring my vanilla back in. I'll use this one. So this time I'm using the Stampin' Right marker. I'm using the thicker end, and I'm just going to color the word U. Now remember, when you're coloring with markers, they can dry a little quicker, so you have to huff on it just to re-moisten. Okay, so now there's my U. Whoops. And I have a lot more room to play with, so I can make it a little wider. It's not so close to the edges. Okay, so now let me move my ink pads. I'm going to bring in my mini dimensionals. Whoops, my fingers are so sticky. And then I'll bring all 3 cards back in so you guys can see them if you chimed in late. So let me first make sure my twine is nice and straight. My bow is not cooperating. Let me try that again. It's kind of curling. Okay, I gotta wipe my fingers. Hold on. I got liquid glue all over them, so it's causing some issues. So let's try this again. And I think that's why my bow didn't come out so good, because my fingers are all sticky. Okay, let me trim this down. There, that's better. So don't forget to share my video, everyone. I'm going to pick a name tomorrow morning to win all 3 of these cards. Let me bring that back up a little. Remember, when you share the video, you might have friends that appreciate seeing somebody else creating. The well goes right here. And the U goes down here. Okay, so there's card number 3. So let me bring in all of the cards. So there's number 3, number 2, and number 1. So which one is your favorite? Make sure you let me know. And thanks so much for all the love, and thanks for sharing. And I'll announce the winner of the 3 cards tomorrow morning. And let me see, I don't think I'm back on until next Sunday. I don't have my calendar right in front of me. Oh, you know what I forgot to show you was the inspiration. See this one right here? So this was card number 3. So they did a lot of fussy cutting here, and I did the same thing. So anyway, that's my class for tonight. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. Have a good night, and I'll see you guys next week. Good night.